Okay, now that we're going to be getting ready to watch our third experiment, it's important for us to take a little bit of notes so that we have some background knowledge before we watch and analyze this last experiment. So I've created a note-taking guide for you that I've put in your Global Studies handout folder. So I'm going to walk you through how to find that. Go ahead and do it on your own if you remember, but if you need a little bit more reminder, you're going to open up your Google Docs and you will have a folder that says Global Studies Handouts. Some of you have a difficult time finding it, so you can click on the Shared with Me and see if you can find it. Or a quick way that you can do it is just to come up to your search bar and type in Global Studies Handouts, and the folder should appear. When you click on that folder, our unit that we're currently in is socialization, so you're going to go ahead and click on that again. And the document that I've created for you now, since we're still in the socialization, it's called Socialization, Institutions, and Stanford Prison. So it's down here. You'll click on it, and you will see a document that looks like the one that's shown on the screen. Remember, because I created it, it is just a view only, and so in order for you to take notes, you are going to have to make a copy of it. So you come up here to File, and drag it down to where it says make a copy, and then I would just click OK. And now you have a document that you can type on. The first word that we're going to define is total institutions, and the definition of a total institution is places where residents are separated from the rest of society. These residents are not free to manage their own life. And that is our definition of total institutions. I'm just erasing that line that was reminding me that I needed to place a definition there. Some of you might want that to stand out, the definition, so if you highlight it and then come up to the text background, you could change the color of it so you can see the definition, or you can actually change the text color. Now I want you to just take a couple minutes and talk with your elbow partner about what would be some examples of institutions in our society where residents are separated from the rest of society and not free to manage their own life. Go ahead and talk with your elbow partner for just a few minutes. Okay, eyes back up on the screen. After teaching this for a number of years, then I can predict that you probably came up with the two institutions that most people consider to be total institutions. And those are mental hospitals, and more specifically what we are going to be looking at, prisons. And so those are two examples that you can write down. Again, if you want them to stand out, highlight them, come up to the text background, and choose whatever color of highlight that you are on. Part of the role that those institutions play, especially our prison system, is they need to re-socialize their residents, because the goal always is to put them back into society. And when we release somebody back into society, whether it's from a mental hospital or a prison, we are hopeful that they're able to function in society and behave in the manner with the same norms and values that the rest of society would expect. We would want them to conform to acceptable behavior. In order to do that, we need to de-socialize those residents. And so the definition of de-socialization is the process when people give up old norms, values, attitudes, and behavior. It is the destruction of self-concept and personal identity. We as a society believe that something must have went wrong in order to have these people commit crimes that would place them into a total institution or a prison system. So part of the role is to de-socialize them. Take away that socialization that was taught to them before we can re-socialize them. So we need to brainstorm as many examples that we can think of that would be ways that prison systems de-socialize their inmates. So I'm going to have you, again, in your pod, try to talk about and think of some specific ways that our prison system de-socialize the inmates before they attempt to re-socialize them. I'm going to have Mrs. Miles go ahead and give you about 5 minutes to do this, and then you guys are going to share out some ideas. She'll write them on the board, and then I will come back onto the screen and I will type in some of the most common ones that we know our prison systems do. So talk with your elbow partner now for about 5 minutes. Okay, hopefully some examples that you were able to come up with is that our prison system tries to make sure they have no personal belongings. If they take away anything that is personal or just to them, it will take away their self-identity. So they're not allowing personal belongings. Another example would be that they try to promote sameness. And so ways that they promote sameness are everybody wears the same outfit, everyone eats the same food, everyone shops for the same items. So there's not a choice in the type of toothpaste that you get. It's just whatever toothpaste their commissary or where they buy their supplies offers. The same with like socks or shirts or perfume or deodorant. So it's promoting that sameness. And also, which many of you know, haircuts to keep it the same. What they're really looking for here is that there are no unique individuals. Because it's easier to have people conform to the rules and the behaviors when everyone is the same. So we want nobody to stand out and be unique. Another way that maybe you set on your list that they try to desocialize people is they use numbers to identify people. So they have taken away your self-concept and your personal identity by referring to you as a number. Now, I'm sure you had many more on your list, and you guys can go ahead and add those in and leave those, and we can talk about those again on Friday. Just remember to ask me if those would be appropriate to put on there. Something else that they do in order to get people to break down and desocialize is they will use isolation as a means of controlling people. Now, some of you might be saying, if you didn't know this was a prison system, you might think of something else that we have in our society that is considered an institution, maybe not a total institution, but they try to promote sameness with outfits, food, haircuts. They have numbers to identify people. They don't really necessarily use isolation. Many of you might come to the conclusion that an institution that we have that does some of these same things is our military. And there are specific reasons why our military wants to promote sameness and conformity. And somebody just needs to make sure that they remember to ask me that on Friday. Now, once they have been successful in desocializing their residents or their inmates, then it is the job of the prison system or the mental institution to re-socialize them. We need to teach them in order to be able to put them back into society. So that's your last word there, re-socialization. And our definition of re-socialization is a process in which people adopt new norms, values, attitudes, and beliefs. That's the definition of resocialization. Once we have been successful in the resocialization process, then it's time for people to be reintegrated back into society. You're going to notice that I have experiment notes down there, your 5 boxes that once you watch the Stanford Prison, you'll be able to go back and fill in those notes, and I can help guide you through that. Now that our notes on this sheet are done and you have a little bit of background knowledge, we just need to make sure that we put this in the right spot so we can find it again quickly on Friday. So you need to go up here where your title is and click on the back arrow. And then once you get to the screen, you need to find your copy of Socialization and Institution Notes. So mine is right here, or you could type it up there. And you need to drag this by clicking on it and dragging it over into your Global Studies Notes folder. I'm not going to drag it over there. I don't have a notes folder. I can put it in my socialization folder though. So you can see I'm dragging it and I click it and let go. And now it has been moved into that folder. So it'll make it easy for us to find. Now that we're getting ready to watch the movie, I'm going to have a back channel conversation set up, and I will be monitoring this back channel conversation in the meeting that I am in. I will be posing some questions, and so it is your responsibility that you make sure that you watch for my questions and you answer the questions. This is a way that we can have a silent conversation through the movie versus starting and stopping at and interrupting the flow of the movie. There are times when Mrs. Miles has been told that she needs to turn down the volume of the movie just because of some of the language that's being used. I know that you might have heard it before, but it's just not something that I want said or being talked about within my classroom. So she is going to turn it down at certain points. I need all of you right now on your computers to go to my website. So hopefully you have it bookmarked. If not, it's up on the board, www.tinyurl.com/Tripkosh. You can type that in. You're going to notice that on my site I have a tab that says Today's Meet. You need to pull down to the correct hour that you are in. So for third hour, you will pull down to where it says third hour. And then this is where we can have a conversation. So to join, you need to put your name, and I would like first name, last initial. You need to make sure you're using your correct name. That's part of being responsible users of your computer. So I do not want to see any made-up names or fictional names. I expect to see everybody's name on this conversation. So for me, I'm just going to type in Mrs. Tripkosh, and then I hit join. And now you have a talk message in here. So if I wanted to just test this out and show you, I can just type, hope you enjoy the Stanford Prison Experiment. And you're going to notice up here there's a count of a number, because just like with Twitter, you only have a certain number of characters that you're going to be allowed to type. So because of that, if you want to use your text abbreviations, that's fine. If you want to comment back to somebody else, then remember you can use that @ and then type the person's name so they can be directed to look at that comment back. But this needs to be the only site that you are on. So as Mrs. Miles is circling around, if she sees you on any site other than Today's Meet, she's going to ask you to close your computer and put it away. And then you will have to explain to me why I don't see any of your collaboration on the Today's Meet when I get back on Friday. Okay? I hope you enjoy it, and watch for me on this because I'll be monitoring your conversations. Make sure you look for my questions and respond to those. Thanks.